Hello and welcome to Burundi Diaries episode 16, which means we have been in Burundi a bit more than 15 weeks, or to be more accurate, today we have been in Burundi 108 days. Well, time has gone very fast, and although 108 days is not very long time, did you know that in that time a banana plant can grow a half a meter taller? Or, if we would have planted a corn seed the day we arrived, today it would be full grown and ready to be harvested. This week we didn't travel up country, so we thought of sharing with you what we have seen here, right where we live. Actually, what we have seen from our very window. Also, as we have now entered a rainy season, let's see some footage of the couple of rainy days we recently had. In that video you saw some heavy rain, although the locals have told us that this year's rainy season hasn't been really wet. The rain showers are quite short and it's not even raining every day. The locals have told us that the real rainy season will start in April, so we'll just have to wait and see until that time. But let us now conclude this week's episode with food. Already for some time we've been thinking and wanting to try to cure some meat. So yesterday we went into a butchery and got ourselves nice pieces of pork and beef. And yesterday we started to prepare this. We cleaned them and then put some white wine and let it rest in the fridge overnight. And we used white wine for 3 different reasons. First of all, it has some antibacterial properties, so it makes curing a bit more safer. Secondly, its acidity or low pH starts to break the protein structure of the meat, thus making it a bit more tender. And thirdly, white wine gives a nice little taste to your meat. So what we are going to do next, we are going to first of all dry them, remove all the excess moisture out of them. Secondly, we have to weigh them, because later before eating we have to weigh them again to make sure that they have lost 30-35% of the original weight. And then thirdly, we are going to embed them in salt to really start the dehydration and curing process. We are going to put them in the fridge for about 15 hours, remove the salt and then add seasoning, and then let them dry in the fridge for about 3 weeks. So really looking forward how this will work. First time in our life to try to cure meat. So let's do it. So this beef, exactly 500 grams. I have to remember this when we weigh it again. 500 grams. And this pork, actually there are 3 smaller pieces. Really wanted to have one larger piece, but they didn't have. It's a bit small. Let's see that hopefully they don't go too hard when they dry. But these weigh together 776 grams. Now we are just putting some normal sea salt. Put them here. And also some sea salt on top. And this salt, okay, it will make the meat salty, but we've been reading, watching videos on this, so there are basically 2 different ways. You either weigh the salt and you portion it just 2.5–3% of the weight of the meat, or the other way is just to put them to a lot of salt, but still this result, it shouldn't be too salty. So then we later rinse the salt away and then put other seasoning there. But again, as said, this is first time we do this. We don't have really experience, so this is a experimental kitchen now. Okay, that should be for the pork, and then for the beef. That's it. We put lid over them and then put them to fridge for about 15 hours. So these were buried in salt for about 15 hours. Then we rinsed them with clean cold water and then dried them very well. And as you can see, the color of the meat has turned a little bit darker already, and also the texture of the meat is a little bit harder, not so soft. And just out of interest, let's weigh them again to see how much they have lost weight. Let's put pork first. Yesterday we remember it was 776 grams, and now 709, 710 grams. So we have lost 67 grams, almost 10%, 9%, almost 10% of the original weight. And what about beef? This was 500 grams yesterday, and now it's 446 grams, 54 grams. It's a little bit more than 10%. So approximately both of them, they have lost 10% of their weight because of that initial 15-hour salt. So what we are going to do now, we are going to a little bit apply white wine again because of antibacterial properties, but also so that the seasoning will stick better. We don't want to make them wet because the purpose is to dry them and cure them, but just so that the seasoning, we have just basic black powder, black pepper powder, and then red paprika, so that these will stick better because now the meat is very, very dry. So let's do that. Here's our seasoning mix, and let's just roll these pieces of meat here. So now these pieces of meat are nicely seasoned. So now what we are going to do next is to wrap them. In many of the videos instructions we were watching and reading, it says that maybe a cheesecloth or some other cotton towel would be nice. We don't have that, we couldn't get them here, but an alternative we found from pharmacy, a clean cotton bandage. And it's nice because it's from the pharmacy and it's pre-packed, so we can assume that this is quite clean and sterile. Also helps to cure the meat so that we avoid all the bacteria or mold. So let's wrap this now up. It's good that we have done the first aid course because this makes it much more easier. Or not. These bandages came with the metal clips, so we can use them. Or then we have also a woolen string here so that we could wrap them up like this. Let's just use the last of on this. Don't want to cut the small piece out. This cloth is it's not so dense, so I think anyway it will breathe very nicely. So there we go. These are now ready, nicely wrapped in a clean, breathable cotton cloth. And now these are ready to go to the fridge for about 3 weeks for more curing, more drying. And preferably this should be hanged like this, but the purpose of hanging is that the air goes all around, so it enables even drying. Well, we can't hang anything inside of our fridge. There's nothing to be hanged on, so we have to lay them flat. But we don't want to lay them flat on the shelf, because then the condensation water will develop between the shelf and the meat easily, and it can spoil the meat. So we just have to enable that the air is all around. So we thought of this. We have a small metal pan, and we have this wooden skewer sticks. So we lay them here and then meat on top of the skewers, so now air is going all around them. And once in a while, still maybe it's good to check and then turn them around. But very interesting to see how this will work. Will it work or will it get spoiled? We have to monitor that no mold is developing there or the meat doesn't get bad. But stay tuned in the channel so you will also see how this turns out. This was this week's episode. Hopefully you liked it. See you next time. Bye bye.